Welcome to Beyond the Clef. I am your host, David, and I am here with Jason Schayot from Berkner High School. Thanks for being on, Jason.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, we've been talking a little bit about you and your staff and what you've been doing, and I think you've done clinics on this before, or topics that you've talked about this topic before, but everybody wants to know how you guys really make your program take on the identity of the staff, and you tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I started really thinking about this, the idea for what we're talking about, where the students are a reflection of the band staff, it really came to fruition around February of this year. One of our staff members at Berkner High School, Steve Torrance, he teaches the third band at Berkner High School. Going to work one morning, on his way out to his car, it's dark. You know, we start early, so it's 6 a.m. in the morning, it's dark, pouring down rain, and a car comes around the corner, and he's a pedestrian, and runs into him. Shatters one of his knees, shatters one of his, the shin bone right underneath the knee. He's out of work for a month and a half. So I started really thinking about it. At the same time, I'm working with another school district on, just staff culture and student culture, and I started putting things together on how tied the entire Berkner band staff is to each other. And when you lose somebody for a month to a month and a half of work, how much I started to realize that we're not just a team, that you're tied, digging your hands in, getting in the dirt with each other, and in the gravel in the playground of the Berkner band playground, together, became really apparent to me. And so as I started thinking about it, I really think that when I'm looking at the students, or when any of our staff members, and I've talked to the staff about this, when we look into the eyes of our students, I really feel like they're a mirror back to us. That the band staff really set the identity and set the culture of the band program, because the students will reflect it back to us.
So when this happened, this particular incident, that really showed you what was going on, how did the group change?
The beauty of it is it didn't. Because it's a band staff, band isn't about one person. And this is one person talking, and this is a philosophy. But I feel like band is bigger than one person, it's bigger than just one director, that when we have a true band staff that is from our two junior high feeders, Andrew Week at Apollo Junior High and Chris Pineda at Liberty Junior High, that all of the junior high staff and high school staff together, that vertical alignment, that is the culture that really defines kids coming up from 6th to 12th. What's interesting about Richardson ISD, whether you know this or not, all of us teach the beginners. We start beginners in 6th grade, and 6th graders are at elementary schools. So every director, even the high school directors, go to elementary schools and teach beginners. So we're the high school guys are really in the trenches every day with junior high directors. So we see each other every day. We see the junior high staff, the high school staff, we see each other every day teaching the 6th graders, and we're all in it together. So ultimately when those kids want to they think about going to big old Berkner, like, oh yeah, I want to do that. He's already taught me. I know him.
It's really a great continuation of what's going on. So tell me a little bit more about this philosophy, and if you'll delve into, I guess on a more micromanaging level, tell me more about this philosophy of your staff.
Well, I'll start with this. I think it starts in the hiring process. I think when you're defining your student culture, it really comes from who you're bringing in and putting in front of them. And does that person have the qualities that match the rest of the staff and go with what we're doing? So I start every interview with, I'm going to open it up here on my phone here just for a second, with the first page of the Berkner Band Handbook. I did not write this. My predecessor, Mr. Frank Troika, and his predecessor, Mike Brashear, and his predecessor, Mr. Robert Floyd, all of these fantastic band directors at Berkner have set these traditions. I'm just the carry-on guy. I just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. But page 1 of the Berkner Band Handbook, there are 4 criteria for success in the Berkner Band: attendance, attitude, intellectual ability, physical ability. And so I go into that is how I start a an interview. So let's talk about like, and you can say that to the students. That's really, we wrote that for the students, right? That's the student handbook. But when you think about it, for the staff, as a band director, number one, what's my number one job is to be there. My number one job is attendance. Yes, I'm not just physically present. Check, I showed up for staff meeting, but I'm present. I am engaged in every part of the band program. I attend not just high school functions, I attend junior high functions. I go to sixth grade concerts. I go to all of the, like every one of our staff members go to all the junior high concerts. Our junior high staff came to every single marching band contest the Burner Band went to. And if there's another high school band director out there, listening to this podcast and be like, wow, like every single one. And so we're not just at school working, but we're attentive to each other and we're attending all the activities. Number two, attitude. So having a great attitude, a positive outlook on bands, on your job. I look for happy people. Look for people who are not just going to bring personality to a band, but that are positive thinkers. And here's what I teach the students. We take our leaders to we do a leadership camp with our kids. And the leadership camp is, we do our own curriculum, we teach it ourselves. And the curriculum changes each year with the personality of the students. What do these kids need? And then I write that curriculum for those kids. But here's one thing that I say every year about attitude. Tell the students, all right, and I'm just going to kind of just go through my thing. You can stop me I'm going to go through. So here's what I tell them. So everybody needs a calendar. So students, get out your phone, show me your calendar. Like, how do you schedule your day? Mine is right here. Podcast at 10:30. Like, there it is. Like this is my schedule. Okay, so before you go to bed each night, I want you to set your alarm 20 minutes earlier than you think you need to get up for band. And when you get up in the morning, get a drink of water, because you got to hydrate. Get a drink of water, turn on a light, go somewhere where you won't fall asleep. And I want you to get out your calendar, and I want you to think about everything that you're about to do that day. And I want you to think about the people that you will meet, the people that you will see, and possibly the lives that you will interconnect that day. And I want you to think about how you can be the best version of yourself in every one of those interactions. And
so this has gone from literally talking about something that's written in a handbook to you're really trying to make these students better people and teach them about lives.
Like how to go through their day. And you've had days like this, we've all had days like this where you feel like you're just reacting to everything. That the world is just teaming up on you, and this happens and this happens, and you're reacting. What I am trying to encourage the students to do through that leadership process, through that training, is to be proactive about your day, be proactive about your week, be proactive about your year. But it has to be purposeful. So I tell them, get a calendar, figure out what your schedule is, and think about what's going to happen, and have a plan, have a positive attitude or an outlook on how can I proactively affect change with all the people that I meet and everything that I'm going to do through the day. And I feel like if I do that, and I literally do that myself, like I'm just talking about, like, this is what I do in the morning before I start my day. I think about my day and how can I be happy and positive for the people around me in all the different interactions that I go to. And I think that reflects on the staff, and that they go to that leadership camp as well. We're all there together, and so it permeates the happiness of the staff, that everyone is thinking proactively rather than reactive.
As I'm listening to what you're saying and your philosophies on this, have you ever heard of the fish philosophy?
No, go.
Okay, and
I'm going to learn something.
My school has done this, and this is coming from my principals, and they've implemented this with the staff, and they've implemented this with even the students, and it's to great effect. And it has nothing to do with actual, like, it's not an acronym. Okay. It's based on the Seattle Fish Market that in the 90s that created this book. It's an easy book. You just look up fish, and their premise. This is going to sound exactly what you're saying. Right. There's 4 basic things that they think about. It's be there, same thing.
Be present.
Have fun.
Okay.
choose your attitude and make someone's day. And so all of those things, it's a really easy read, it's a quick and easy book. And so they, over the last 4 years, have implemented this with the staff, and it really has created an awesome culture with our staff of the 70 people that we have working at our middle school. And then they've put this onto the students. And that was our big priority this year, is from our area trying to get this and implement this and do lessons for those students. And it's really to great effect. Our discipline is on a campus level is down, staff member happiness up. It's really great. And that was actually from Greg Hernandez, my first principal at Heritage Middle School, and Gina Laughlin and Dennis Hearn, and all of them have worked together on this and carried it through. Wow. And it's exactly what you're talking about here. It's the same kind of thing.
Well, that makes me think about, people who have helped me along the way kind of put some of these ideas together. One of the band directors that works at Berkner, her name is Lynn Jackson, is a huge mentor for me, huge mentor for all of the Berkner band staff.
I had the opportunity to listen to her. She came into town, and June Bearden set up a little meeting, and she got to talk, and it was fantastic.
It's amazing in that she has a position where she can go around and see every 6th grade class, every junior high class. She's our mentor teacher. And for us to use, I feel like the Berkner Band is really more like a Berkner Band laboratory, and with her mentorship of, okay, that exploded, that didn't work. I know not to do that anymore. And so that this is many of these things are not new, they're just compilations of things I've learned from great people like Len, like Frank, like the band directors before me. So we have attendance, you gotta be there.
Right.
Attitude, you got to have a proactive approach. Be positive. Be ready for the day. Really important for me, and I talk about this in the first time I meet somebody about being on staff, is intellectual ability. We can talk about, yes, you got to know your scores. Yes, you have to be able to read a lot. Lots of multiple staffs, multiple clefs. Be able to analyze chords and decipher rhythms, and yes, that takes intellectual ability. But what I'm talking about is the ability to deal with your emotions, the intellect of being able to control how you are dealing with the people in your day, how you're dealing with your students, your peers, your teachers, your administrators, the parents, the community, and the emotions, honestly, the emotions of being a band director at a 6A high school that goes to lots of marching contests and has lots of early morning rehearsals and late night performances at a Friday night football game, and the next day you get up and go to a marching contest. Dealing with the emotional animal that is marching band and is teaching band, it's really important that we have cool-headed people that are mature, that are emotionally mature, intellectually seasoned, and those can be young people. It's looking for that older person in the young person, but I think that's a really important part of a great band staff. And then lastly, the physical ability. And I kind of section this off to our staff in a couple different ways. Number one, physical ability to be able to stand on a podium, to command a room, to be able to speak to someone and with clarity, good body language in front of the students, good eye contact with the students, good eye contact with your administrators. How do they present themselves? How do they look? Do they keep themselves up well?
You're going to laugh at me. This is the silliest thing, but I love Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer on the Animal Channel. And what I tell some of the younger people around me and the first year teachers is, if you watch that and see how he presents himself with an animal, I mean, to be fair, we are animals, and how you walk into a room, everybody is in an instant seeing how you are and your confidence level and everything that you're imparting. You can do the same thing. Now, I'm not trying to say you should treat your kids like dogs, but at some point there's a nonverbal communication skill that is so much of what we do, and it's the exact same thing.
It's an important part of it's an important part of the job, because the students see right through that. They see, yes, you have to have content. As a teacher, you have to have good content. You have to have knowledge, but then you have to be able to present it with clarity and in a way that the students and the people around you are going to have buy-in on that. The physical ability is not just being able to present yourself in a certain way and looking professional, which I think the Berkner Band staff does a really, really good job of looking professional at all times. But also, the physical demands of the job. I mean, we're out there running around the field with the kids. Like one of the directors in the tower, I actually run the marching band from down on the field. I'm running around with the kids. Whether you're a junior high band, I taught junior high for 8 years before I became a high school band director. I was working so hard. Junior high schedule, it never quits. First period, second period, third period. You just work through lunch and then you drive over here. Being a band director, being a choir director, being an orchestra director, it is physically taxing. And dealing with the physicality of being on your feet and always being on, and you're never turned off. I want people who are on staff to understand those concepts, that it's important. And it's important to have stamina. So we talk a lot about stamina. Stamina as a marching band student, yes, and being able to make it through an 8-minute show. But stamina as a teacher and being able to sustain a long day and still have that positive attitude that you were hoping for before you got to work. So there's our 4 kind of things that I think when you put all those components together, and we have a like-minded vision from 6th grade, all the directors who teach from 6th up to 12th, and everybody understands those values, understand those principles. I think that having that like-minded staff is so important and makes for such a nice environment to teach in.
You have to size that up in an interview, and I know that's probably very hard, but you're trying to assess that person, and then you've obviously done a great job of selecting your staff. How do you keep that going? How do you and your staff, you're not going to be everybody on with these principles at all times.
Right.
How do you yourself or you encourage your staff to keep up all of these thoughts?
Right. I almost think it doesn't go back to like one person. I think it's more of once the thing is rolling, it's about follow through and consistency. I'm going to go with the area of communication with consistency. When you get to work, if it's a marching band day or marching band rehearsal starts at 7 a.m., at 6:35, there's a staff meeting every morning. 25 minutes beforehand, we know drum majors come in. I have a printed agenda for everybody, and they know that at 7 a.m., boom, there's a downbeat of the playing fundamentals, and then 7:09 marching fundamentals. Then at 7:19, part 1, set 13. And we go through a printed agenda of a marching band rehearsal. And we have a quick staff meeting, everybody good, and get everybody on the same page, and we go away. We start the week with a 7 a.m. staff meeting every week. That's the only day we don't rehearse in the morning with marching band. And so I think communication from the director leading the charge is very important. So there's clear communication expectations. I just think people are happier, and I have 3 daughters. One is in the Bertner band, she's a sophomore this year, and then I have 2 twin 10-year-olds. And being a dad of 3 kids, I realize people are just happier when they have rules, when they have a construct. Here's your box, and if you go outside that box, if you wander outside of it a little bit, I'm gonna bop you on the head, you're gonna get in trouble, there's consequences, right? Our students need that. My wife gives that to me all the time. Jason, here's your box. If you wander outside of that, and I think people are just they're happier individuals. They're more positive. They're safe. Rules give us safety, and when a student or a staff member feels safe and comfortable, they're going to do their best playing, their best marching, or their best teaching. So consistency of communication. The staff meetings are important. Another thing I do is clear communications from the band staff to parents and to students. So we started something new this year where everybody has their website, but what I did this year, I stole this from another band director, was that all of the announcements are on the website. But that's the only thing that I actually do myself. I do all the announcements in the website, and then each director has their different band that they teach. We have 5 bands at Bertner, and each director has their particular website that points to the announcements that I'm changing each day. So the daily announcements, you just put your website up on the projector, go through the announcements real quick, here's what's on the website, then boom, I send that link to the parents, and parents get the announcements too. So there's clear communications from the staff in that they're all pointing to the same announcements that one person wrote, and everything's said the same way, everyone's seeing the same information. So I think that clarity has made for happier parents, happier students, because the expectations are very clear and they're never misconstrued because it's only said one way.
Sure. Now I have to transition over to, you had an interesting story this year about a trip.
Well,
and,
yeah.
And so I have to transition over to a whole different topic now.
Sure.
You got stuck.
We did. Now, I didn't get, okay, so, back up.
So when you're talking about a family, what you're saying is you made everybody else get stuck, but you didn't. Is that it?
All right, so the Burner Band did a Disney trip. We do our big trip once every 4 years. So our big trip a few years ago was to Florida. So it was actually not this year, but it was a few years ago. And when we traveled to Florida, we offered 2 different travel options. And those band directors that are watching this, if you're interested, actually worked out okay. If you want to ride the bus, it's this price. If you want to fly, it's this price.
Oh, wow.
And I had a full charter bus. We filled a charter bus of families that wanted their student to bus. And so my wife and I and our kids were on that bus, and we were the chaperones for that bus. And so I took those students, those 55 passengers, to Florida on a bus. Well, a huge ice storm came in, but the bus has got to leave way before the flight.
Sure.
So the bus has gone, it left, we're just driving, we're on our way through Louisiana, and I'm like, there was an ice storm coming in. Sure enough, we do get all of the students on the flight to the airport, but then DFW shuts down, and the Burner Band with 150 passengers are stuck in DFW.
Wow.
Overnight. American Airlines like that, like they laid out cots for the kids and blankets and all kinds of stuff. Like, it was just wonderful. They kind of rolled out the red carpet. So
well, that's good.
But
I kept on seeing this come through on the Director's Choice Facebook page, like mentioning you guys, and and I know.
Yeah. But when you think about it, that goes back to that whole philosophy of, okay, when Steve, when he broke his leg, and then I took over his band, we didn't miss a beat. Because there's a culture there of every band rehearses the same way, every band reacts to their directors the same way, because there seems to be just a guiding principle for the whole thing to run. Well, ship me off to Florida, and Chris Bronson, the first associate director that he teaches the second band at Burner High School, he led the charge in helping realign the flights. Okay, he stood. I think he was in line all night. Like, just stood at the. He was first one in line at that that desk where they check you in and so on.
Right.
He's first one, and we have pictures of him just sleeping on the on the counter, and was able to get all 150 of those seats moved. But there's that trust in the staff that it's not about one person. Yes, ship them off to Florida. We because the program is able to continue to move forward, because everyone has buy-in. Everyone has not just buy-in, but they're invested. Everyone is truly invested in the program, and I think part of that has to do with there's so many jobs of a head band director. What we do is we take all of those jobs, kind of pie pieces, and okay, you're in charge of budget, you are in charge of bus requests, you over here, you're in charge of, we have different liaisons and different positions. So someone's in charge of the lesson program, another person's in charge of the instrument inventory, one person's in charge of the library. So we all take on multiple jobs, because it's just, as you know, the band animal, the orchestra animal, the choir animal is way bigger than, in some of these large programs. More than it can't be inside one person's head.
Right. And that's where things end up failing, and you end up having something. So when that one person, that one thing is taken out of the picture, the whole thing suffers. And it sounds like you have really started something really great with your whole community and your whole culture.
I wouldn't say started. I'm continuing.
Excuse me.
Some wonderful work that's happened before me, and continuing to learn from some fantastic teaching happening at Liberty and Apollo, our feeder programs, and the way that this is not just an idea in one person's head, but a culture of a staff.
Sure. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being on the program. This is Jason Schayot, also not just Burtner High School Director of Bands, but Guinness Book of World Records holder.
And how did you find that out?
I have my sources.
Whoa!
I have my sources.
Whoa!
I'm sorry, you have to tell us.
Okay, well, I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records. I still hold the record. And I'm a distance spitter. I spit for distance.
Spit.
I spit.
What do you spit?
Well, I can
Anything?
spit multiple things, but the record is for watermelon seed spitting. So
Well, we have a watermelon right here. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that
Now
to
that
you.
would be amazing.
Yeah, that
if you
would.
did. Right.
We'll get that on. Can we get some watermelon over here? All right. Well, hey, Jason, thank you so much for being on. I'm definitely going to have you on again. We want to talk so much more. I've written down some notes of some things that I'm going to implement starting this fall, and I'm so happy to have gotten to chat with you today.
Thank you.
So thanks
been
for being
great
on
today.
Beyond the Clef.